Metaphors of movement is an amazing way of communicating people their unconscious experience. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities. But idioms, oh the idioms! This is one of the toughest parts of the metaphors of movement work. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 7 ways you can enhance your ability to idiomize different metaphors, but also communicate a client's unconscious experience. Now, before I jump into the 7 different ways you can initially start to practice idiomizing a client's experience, I want to talk about the 3 main overarching subcategories within that. So there's probably a diagram somewhere on the screen shortly that will talk about the 3 initial categories that are talked about within the metaphors of movement levels 1 and 2 training. We have idioms of effect. Idioms of effect essentially are idioms that connect to the client's plight. Essentially, they're sympathetic with their situation, with their scenario. The second is idioms of cause, essentially blaming or showing or demonstrating the client has responsibility or agency within the metaphorical construct. And the third is idioms of identity, the toughest one, the most challenging one, and the hardest one to find. So from these 3 sort of over categories, there's a whole host of different ways you can idiomize. Now, the 7 I'm going to talk about within this video are by no means exclusive. There are more advanced ways to idiomize experience, which may be coming in a later video. But what I want to do is for people who are beginning the metaphors of movement work and your brain's doing the whole brain freeze thing, my brain was there, I fully get it, it just takes practice. I'm going to talk about the 7 ways you can start to idiomize metaphors so it becomes a lot more easier for you. So, let's jump straight in. So number 1, this is the most fundamental one for me, and if anything, this is the one you should learn. This is the one that you should proactively take the time to read the book, read the manual, whatever manual, booklet, guide you've got. Get good at these, because these are the fundamentals of all the metaphors of movement work, and that is direction. So, what's in front of us, what we look forward to, what's ahead of us, the things that are in front of us, the things that could be said are in our way, what's directly ahead of us, stuff that's in that direction. Now, I'm going to use my right, but that would be your left, right? What's right for you, what's in the right direction, what's in the right way, what's moving in the right direction, what's in the rightful place, what's in the rightful way, what's in the direction that is right to go in. We have what's left, or your right, and you're right that this is my left. What's left to explore, what's left available, what is left to us, what's in a direction that's not necessarily right, but it is left to explore. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's not right, because it's left for us. What's in the background, what's behind us. Could be said where we've come from, if there's a path or a means to get to where we are now, but it is our background. What we're on, what's supporting us, what's underneath us, what is the foundation, what is our understanding of the situation, and ultimately, what's up, what's above us, what's over our head. By mastering number 1 directions, these fundamental directions serve as the backbone, the main supportive structure to a lot of the metaphors of movement work. So when I started doing the metaphors of movement work and I was pulling my hair out initially, going to the granular, that's where I started. Now, the next way to make that easier is a lot of people say, well, what's to the right a wall, what's in front a cliff, and they describe the actual object, the actual thing that is in that space. But my second invitation for you to consider is, what are the qualities, the actual adjectives that are describing what's there? And I want to use a bit of a metaphorical environment as an example. And at the end of this video, I'm going to go through all of these different angles. So let's just imagine I'm going to pick a pink fluffy bunny rabbit. Let's say a cuddly toy. And that's to the right. So if we forget that there's a pink fluffy cuddly bunny rabbit, the actual thing, so what's right for you is quite colourful because it's pink. What's right for you could be quite comforting. People quite like fluffy things. what's right for you is also quite childish. Or it could be said to be quite childish, or you could see how some people might think what's right for you is quite childish. But also what's right for you is quite playful. Now let's think of, I'm going to say a fence. Let's imagine a white picket fence is to my left. So it could be what's left for me to explore. What's left for me, is relatively solid. It's relatively stable. Because it's a picket fence, there's lots of parts in what's right. There's a structure to what's right. What's right divides you between where you are and what's on the other side of that. So we can just forget about whatever's in each of the direction and just think, what are the stereotypical qualities of that thing? And then just add that to the direction. Monster. What do we know about monsters? Monsters normally are quite scary. Depending on the type of monster, normally not real. So if I've got a monster in the background, what's behind you is quite monstrous. It could be said what's behind you is quite scary, but also what's behind you doesn't normally exist in reality. So what are the qualities? That's number 2. Number 3 is the relationship we have to things and things have to us. Now, you learn this within situational relational positions at the start of Metaphors of Movement Level 2. But the relationship we take to things and it takes to us, we can look at those dynamics. So, I'm going to use a glass. I'm just coming up with random examples. So, let's imagine there's a glass in front of me. And let's say it's on my hand because I'm putting my hand out. Ultimately, I'm giving myself a platform to put the glass on. So ultimately, what's in front of me, so direction, this is why directions are so key. So what's in front of me I put first. It could be said what I put first is quite fragile. It could be said what I put first could break. Now that thing that's fragile is actually, I put that first relative to me. So actually I don't come first relative to that glass. That glass is in pole position. Now if we're to think about people, this is why situational relational positioning is taught normally with people. It makes it a lot easier. So let's imagine I have my bosses behind me. I lead the way, I put myself first, I look forward. My boss is behind me, they're in the background, they've got my back, they could stab me in the back, but ultimately they're in the background. I'm leading the way, I'm setting the pace, I'm setting the direction, I'm not looking at them, I'm not paying them any attention, and they are in the background. So how do we relate to things, but also how do things relate to us? This can link to more advanced ways of idiomizing because you can start to consider whatever's left for you, you have a relationship towards what's left, but if you were to take a step forward, that then changes your relationship, so it is then left behind. If you're interested in a more advanced video or a more advanced training course on idioms and more advanced ways of idiomization, do let me know in the comments, and always give me a like and subscribe if you like this whole video. So the next thing that we talk about is supports. And when I talk about supports, it's what we're standing on, but also the environment around us. What supports the aspects within our environment? What's the understanding of those aspects? And is that support and understanding and structure shared? And when I do the demonstration at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about how that will differ. So what is my current understanding? What's the position I'm in? What's the support I've got? What's the grounding I have? But what's the support, grounding, and understanding of all the different other elements in the metaphor? Number 5 is what would happen if. This refers to physical movement. What would happen or what could happen if I was to take a step to the left, if I was to take a step to the right, if I was to take a step forward? What would happen if those things occur logically based on the environment? Now, some people might say, well, Dale, you're assuming these things and it could be completely different. It could be. Someone could take a step right and their whole metaphor could change. However, based on the current structure and the current understanding and assumptions within the metaphor of this person's experience, we can presuppose or idiomize what could happen if those things occur. But this isn't limited to steps. Let's imagine somebody's juggling. Let's imagine if they're holding something, maybe a burden. What could happen if they were to put it down? It might come crashing down if it's a rock. So we can presuppose what would happen if these things occurred. Number 6, big one for the NLPers, we can consider the senses. Now, what you look forward to is what's in front of you, what you look forward to. Currently, I look forward to you and you look forward to me, if you're watching this video still. Now, we can consider, that's an easy one with sight, but we can consider what people could feel, what they could touch, what they could taste, what they could smell, depending on environment. Now, smell, sound, things like that, they're not as obvious in metaphor. So don't rack your brains thinking, I need to find a sense. But some might be obvious. Let's just imagine there's a couple to my right having a conversation. Sneak peek on the metaphor coming later. Ultimately, you can hear what's right. Or you can hear that there's a conversation that's right relative to you. Things like that. So we can consider how the senses incorporate themselves into metaphor as well. And the 7th way to consider how you can start to think about idiomization is what is an element in the metaphor not? What is it not? Okay, now that might sound a bit strange, but what you can do is, so if let's just say I had a path to the right, I could say that is not an elephant. That would be true. You could also say it's not a forest, because it's not, it's a path. That sounds a bit weird. But what you can do is you can look at what's the opposite of that specific thing. So let's just imagine I have a forest to my right and there is no path. I can say, so what's right for you has no clear direction. It is not a clear direction because it's a forest, there's no path. I could say what's right for you is not man-made, it's not constructed because it's a forest, it's grown, it's different. So we can look at the polarities and what they're not. So, are you ready for seeing how this can all come together? So, I'm going to paint the metaphorical landscape and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to idiomize all the different directions, attempting to use all these 7. Now, if I miss any out, do put them in the comments. If you see some more, do put them in the comments. I love metaphors of movement work. I love teaching it. I love coaching it. I love mentoring on it. And for me, I love doing practice groups on it. I love it because you will see things I do not see. You will see suggestions I will not have heard of. And every session can be different and unique. So yeah, feel free to put in the comments. So, to paint the scenario, I'm standing there and I'm standing on grass. In front of me is a wall. Just like a standard brick wall. Don't worry, you can see me, but there's a brick wall in front of me. To my left is a forest and a path. To my right is a couple of people talking and they're standing on carpet. I'm standing on grass. Behind me is a cliff with water underneath. I would invite you to draw this yourself as I go around. So, I'm going to start with front. So, what's in front of me, what I look forward to, directions, is solid. What's in front of me is immovable. What's in front of me is made up of lots of different elements that all come together that stop me progressing. Qualities. If I was to move forward, I'd see my head, I could potentially hit my head against a brick wall. Ultimately, by progressing, by moving forward, I'm not really going anywhere. I'm going to be up against it and there's going to be no way forward. If I am to go forward, I might find myself hitting a resistance. Now, that was more what would happen if, so look at me. You can mix the order, I'm just trying to make it logical. That was what would happen if. Now, if we look at what's in front of me, it could be said that I put that wall first. That barrier is first, it's in front of me. So it could be said that I put it first, it puts itself first, it's ultimately in my way, which means I'm not in its way, it's in my way. Now, looking at that relationship, it's got concrete foundations, it's pretty stable, it's pretty secure, it's not really moving anywhere. It could be said that it's been solidified in place. Now, I can't see the way forward senses. I can't get a sense of what's ahead of me. I can't see further forward. I can't see what I look forward to. Now, this is where we can combine things. If I was to maybe take a step forward, I might find myself up against it, and I could get a feel for what's in front of me, but it could be a bit rough. But ultimately, getting a feel for what's in front of me might not help me progress either, but it would get me a better connection to the barrier that I perceive that's in front of me. Now, what's in front of me is not the way forward, or is a way forward, but it's not going to take me anywhere. It's not natural. It's not a direction that I can see myself going in because it's a block. Now, what's left for me is natural. There is a way left, there is a path left. I could go in the direction that's left for me. What's left for me is natural, it's growing. There is a path that's left, and that path has been defined. Now, it's not a straightforward path. It does have its twists and turns. You don't necessarily know what's at the end of the path. Now, I'm right that that path is left, and that path is left for me to explore, and I'm right about that. Now, in addition, what's left for me is well-rooted. It could be said it's well-grounded. It could be said that over time it has grown, it has developed, and it's really flourished with the roots that it's got. Even if it is slightly constructed, because paths are natural, if I was to go left, I would go down a path. As I say, not a straightforward path, but I would have a way, I would have a route, I would have a direction that is predefined. The consideration to think about is the path that's left the path that I look forward to? Now, if I was to turn to that direction, that could be the case, but it isn't right now. Now, what's right for me? There are a couple of people right for me. They see eye to eye. It could be said that they do see eye to eye, but at the same time, they could be in opposition to each other. Now, they are both right from my perspective. But from their perspective, one of them sees me as right and the other one doesn't necessarily see me as right. It's not that I'm wrong, but for them, I'm not right. They've left me to one side while they focus on each other. Now, they've got quite an interesting understanding of their current situation. It's quite comfortable. Now, I wouldn't want to be the one to pull out the carpet from under them because it could end up them going head over heels and coming crashing down, but ultimately they do have a support that's been manufactured. They do have an understanding that's been manufactured, and I'm not going to be the one necessarily to pull the carpet out from under them. But if I were to go right, I might find myself in the middle of it. I might find myself in between both of them. Or I could find myself looking forward to both of them, and one would be right in front of me and the other one would be left in front of me, depending on the position that I decided to take. But my manufacturing might also end up being a little bit manufactured. Now, what's behind me is a bit of a letdown. The way back where I'm come from, it could be said if I was to take a step back, there'd be a pretty sharp decline. But it could also be said, maybe to get to the position I'm in, I've really come up in the world. I've really had to climb my way up. I've really had to elevate myself to get to the position that I'm in. Now, ultimately, it's quite sheer what's in the background. It could be said that it's a bit of a drop. There is an ebb and flow to what's further behind. But what's further behind could end up having somebody washed out. Now, I put myself first relative to my background. The background is something that does go back and forth. It does have ebb and flows. But ultimately, if I'm to take a step back, if I'm to go back, I would have no support. I'd have no understanding. I'd be let down. And it could be said that I might be a bit washed up if I was to go in that direction. Now, if I was to go back, I would really feel it. It could be said to be fully embodied. Might be quite hard to breathe, and I might need to struggle to keep my head above water. But what's behind me, what's in the background is not really solid. It's got a flow to it, but it's not something that can sustain me or support me in the position and the current elevation I'm currently at right now. Now, I've got a natural understanding of this whole thing, and that takes practice. So my invitation for you now you've seen how that can work, and it takes practice. Consider You now know how to idiomize a wall. What's like a wall? Well, a fence is like a wall. Maybe, I don't know. What else is like a wall? A door could be like a wall in some instances. A big person could be like a wall. A mountain could be like a wall. So if you know what a wall is, you know what lots of other things like. What else is natural that you know? A flower, a tree, a garden. Now you know what a path is like, you know what a road is like. So what you'll start to do is once you start to practice these idiomizations, you'll realize that the thing that you've idiomized is like so many other things. And it becomes easier and easier to idiomize unconscious experience. If you found this useful, do give this video a like, do subscribe, do comment your idioms below, and practice, practice, practice. There are multiple practice groups out there. I host them, Ronnie hosts them, Martin hosts them. There's lots of practice groups out there. So join. They're great experiences with like-minded people. And for all updating coming trainings and things like that, or if you've got any questions, drop me a line. That's your Daily Dose with Dale. As always, keep on taking steps, and I'll catch you at the next one.